Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I am muting everybody except myself. I guess that's nice about being a presenter because you have those type of controls. So anyhow, thank you to everyone for joining this. Again, we're going to be doing these monthly, and I'm already working on the whole schedule for the rest of the year. So, and they're going to be very informative, and we're really looking at like tickets that come in, looking at things people are not using, trying to cover those things, trying to get people more familiar with all aspects of Child Tracks. So I promise I will try to keep this to an hour, 1 hour, but also leave 5 to 7 minutes at the end for questions. So hold your questions, write them down till the end. Now today we're going to be covering 4 things. We're going to be covering the average length of stay, how you can get some of those numbers, productivity reports. We're going to be covering export tools, and also data error checking. Because those previous things I just mentioned, if the data is bad, then the results you get from these other things can really not be good unless the data is good. So if you look, these are my notes. I have them printed out, laying in front of me. So this is everything I'm going to get through today. It's quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get started. Close down all these windows I have open. So the first thing we're going to look at is average length of stay. Now, this is broken into 2 types. You have average length of stay for your currently placed kids. You have actually 3 types. Average length of stay for your discharged kids. And then you have average length of stay for clients that was placed within a period, and that average length of stay is only calculated for that period. And I'll explain more about that when we get to it. So the easiest one to do is for your currently placed kids. To find out what your average length of stay for kids currently in care, just come here to this placement current report under the client menu. Click that button, set up your filters. Now you can do this for one payer if you want, or you can do it for all payers. And if you have if your organization is in multiple locations, make sure you pick the branch you want to look at, and then obviously pick the program you want to look at. Now for today, most of the stuff I'm going to be showing, I'm just going to leave it at the default for foster care, but residential and services works the same way. So you want to click this button that says Write CSV, and then you just hit the search button. So the system is going to go out and it's going to find every kid currently in care that matches your search criteria up here. Now, if you're doing services, this unique client only may be important to you, but for residential and foster care, that unique client only is not really important because the kid's not going to be in 2 different residential placements or 2 different foster care placements. So now once the system returns the results, just come down here to the bottom, click on CSV file. All right, it's going to prompt you. It's going to want to open up the spreadsheet of your results. Now, as I show you some stuff on these spreadsheets, you may learn some new tricks about spreadsheets that you did not know. We'll see. So now when it comes up, it's going to not really be sized right, but to resize this so you can see all the data, if you just click up here in the top left corner, then come right over here to the first little line and double click, it'll resize automatically for you. Now to get your average length of stay, there's actually 2 census days on this report, column G and column I. Now, column G, if it's a foster care kid, this is the current number of days in their current foster home. All right, if it's residential, then it's current number of days in their current bed. This total days in care is the total number of days the kid's been placed with you. So now there's a couple ways that you can quickly determine average length of stay for these kids. So if you just highlight this column, drag it down to the bottom, you actually see down here that you get some counts in the bottom corner. So it says the average of those values of 1,027 days. There was 40 lines of information, and the total census days during that for your currently placed kids were 41,102 days. So if you just want to get a quick number, you can do it that way. Or if you want to take a little more time, you can come up here, you can hit equals in that cell, and then you got to look at this formula thing. And we want to do average, so I'm going to click at, let it say average. Now this is the range of rows you're going to be doing. So this is saying we're going to average row I2 through row I41. And that's exactly what we want because I2 is the first row, I1 is the headers. and then 41 was the last row. So if you just hit OK, then you quickly got that average for your agency. Now, if you want to also know what the average length of stay for the kids in their current home, you can just quickly drag this over to that column G. So the average length of stay for kids in their current home is 727 days. The average length of stay for kids in the agency is 1,027 days. So that's quick and easy. Now, if you know how to sort and do different things in Excel, you can actually do some different things with this. If you highlight this, come up here to the Data tab, say Sort it by Gender. Okay. Now, you got everything sorted by gender, so now if you wanted to get averages by gender, then you can come up here and say, at each change in gender, I want to average. And we're going to do average two things. We're going to average the total days in care and also place that location up. Hit OK. So now, if you hit this number 2 over here, you actually see the average length of stay up. I did it, the place of the location, I picked the wrong cell. It should have been days in care. But anyhow, for your agency by gender, here's your average length of stay by gender. So once it's in Excel, the sky's the limit. You can absolutely, sort and group and total and subtotal however you want. So that is the trick to get an average length of stay for currently placed kids. Okay, now, next thing we're going to cover is average length of stay for discharge clients. Now, there's 2 different ways I'm going to show you to do this. Both of them work, and you can use whichever one you like the best. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the administrative menu, go to the report submenu, and we'll do client and agency list. Now, this particular one is for foster care only, okay? I'm going to go ahead and show you how it works. Someday this will work in services and residential, but right now it's definitely foster care only. So I'm going to put in my date range. I'm just going to do all of 2018. All right, and then I'm going to pick a payer. And the other bad thing about this one, you can only do one payer at a time. Right, so, but that's good if you're talking to one of your payers and they just want this information about their kids, not about all your kids. Then you can easily come in and get it. So what this report's going to do is going to go out for your date range, find all the kids that was from the foster care super agency payer. It's going to list them here. It's going to show you all the homes they were in during that time. But down here at the bottom, you have some discharge stats. So all these kids during that time frame, we know which ones were discharged. So we actually show you the reasons. Now your reasons wouldn't be duplicated like ours because we're doing a lot of testing and stuff on here. But the most important part's right over here on the right side. This average length of stay is only for the kids that were discharged during your period. So there was 7 discharges. Their average length of stay was 372 days. And you did a total of 2,608 days of care for those 7 kids during that date range. So that's the first way to get it for your discharged kids, quick and easy. Some downsides of this, it is foster care only, and you can only do one payer at a time. Now the next way I'm going to show you, you can do multiple payers, and you can also use this for more than just discharged kids. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to this placement activity by date. Right? Again, we're going to do 1 year. Do 2018, right? CSV. And again, I'm going to leave this stuff defaulted. I'll talk about them real quick. You can do any program you want. I'm going to leave it foster care. You can do a particular branch. You can do it if you're a multi-state agency. You can do it by state, or you can do it for one payer. So let's go ahead and hit search. So now the system went out and looked for any kid that was initially placed during that period, any kid that was discharged during that period, any kid that had a movement during that period, any kid that had a respite during that period, or if you had any respite-only placements. Again, you want to check that right CSV. So now if you come down here to the bottom, click the button, go ahead and open this up in Excel. The same ways I showed you to get average length of stay on your current placements, you can do the same thing here. So let me go ahead and resize this so you can see every column. So here you have it. Now this length of stay here, column I, again, their current home. For the placements, column K is total days in care for yourself. Again, you can highlight these. Down at the bottom, it'll give you stats. Same way with the current home stat. Again, these are new placements that happen during your date range, okay? So you have stats down here. You can also do your formulas, equals average, and grab these cells here. Let me show you how that actually works. If you click on the word average, it opens up this little like wizard thing. So you can just come in here and you can grab those, the ones you want. Hit this, hit OK, and now it'll give you the average of those values that you highlighted. So now again, this spreadsheet is divided into 5 sections. The first section is new placements during that period. Here's your discharges during that period. So we have length of stay. That would be in their current home. If it's foster care, current bed. If it's residential, and for services, it'd just be in that service. Then you have total days of care. For your services, these two typically say the same thing because the kid's not sleeping at one of your facilities or with one of your foster parents. They're staying at home. So anyhow, you can do the same thing here. If you highlight those, you see the numbers down here. Again, you can come in here, insert an average. Click on the word average. Just put that thing up. Grab those cells. Now, when you grab those, you can just hit enter and it'll pop that window back up and just hit OK. Now you have your average for your discharge kids. You can do the same with kids that moved during the period, same with kids that did a respite in that period, or kids that did a respite only. And again, once it's in this spreadsheet, there's many things you can do. You can sort by any of these fields. If you want to do it by Caucasian or by race, you can do it by race. For your discharge kids, if you want to do it based on the discharge reason, you can do it because that discharge reason is listed on this spreadsheet. So you can actually do it by discharge reasons. So once it's in there, again, with the sort tools in Excel, you can do it any way you want. For example, if you want to know what your average length of stay is on your discharge kids that were favorable discharges versus unfavorable, then just sort this section based off of favorable, do your average, and then you can throw in your average for the unfavorable discharges too. So, okay. Let's see. Okay, now the next one, I'm actually going to show you 3 more ways that you can calculate average length of stay, but I do need to explain how these are working. So, we've been approached about average length of stay many times, and what we've noticed is very few people do it the same way. Some of the requests we had was during a period. We want to know from January 1st of 2017 till December 31st of 2018, all the kids that were in care, and we want to know what their average length of stay was during that period, okay? Not total, but during that period. So that's the examples I'm going to be giving you next. So the first way to do this, you go to Administrative menu, go to Reports submenu, go to Client and Agency Placement List. Okay, now I'm going to follow my notes. I know I just told you I was going to do a 2-year period, but I'm actually going to do a 1-year period. And again, I'm going to leave everything else defaulted, but you can kind of see, you can do it by payer, again, by branch or state, or by program. If you want to include respites, check that box. Typically on the average length of stay type stuff, you don't ever want to check that box because you can duplicate. If the kid was in a 2-day respite, this report will duplicate those 2 days. So you really don't want to include respites. So let's go ahead and search. So now, what the system was returned was every kid that was in care any part of that period. Okay, so if there was a kid that was placed in 2016 and they discharged January 2nd of 2018, they will be included in this list because they were in care during that time. Now, if you, a couple things to notice over here, nobody's going to exceed 365 days in this census column, because we're calculating the census based on your date range here. If I come in here and change this out to sometime in January, hit search, then the census days will go past 365. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I just want to do all of 2018. Okay, so now you know what's being returned, and there are links on here. This is a link to the kids' placement history. Everything I'm showing you has links on it, so I don't want to have to keep talking about the links. But so let's scroll down to the bottom. Now we have a couple things down here. You can return. That's just going to let you start over. This is a paper report of this page, but then if you check that CSV file, then you can open this up, and you can actually get a spreadsheet of all these results. So here's our spreadsheet. Let me get it up full screen. Let me resize it for you so you can see everything that's being said. Now, I don't know if, I'm just going to show you a couple tricks. You can actually hide columns here if you want. So if you just highlight those 3 columns and hide them, then you can see all the way over here to the side. If you want to unhide those, just come back here. You got to cover those hidden ones and go unhide. Okay. So I am going to hide some stuff. Remember, this location in this case would be foster home. I'm going to reference that here in a minute. So anyhow, so here's all your kids, and here's our census days. Again, you can just quickly drag your mouse down to the bottom of this, and you can see that average from underneath here, average of 173. 173 kids during that period. Now on this one though, let me unhide these so I can show you something. What you don't want to do on this one, actually what I just showed you is wrong too. Don't do that. On this one, clients can be listed twice on this report, and I'll show you why. So the very first client here was Jared Anderson. Okay, well, he moved to a new home, so he's listed on here twice in those 2 homes. So on this report, to calculate your average length of stay for these kids, you want to find this value here. And what you want to do is see what it is. So this is D81. Okay, that's the column and row number. Now to go ahead and get your average, just come here. You can hit equals, click on this box, hit your divide sign, and put D81 in there. Right, so your average length of stay for these kids are 214. Here's why. This value doesn't count Jared Anderson twice. It only counts him once, okay? Where the other one would count him twice. If you just drug down that row, Jared Anderson is going to be in there twice. So you definitely want to use the total client count. And this is unique clients. It won't count Peter Pumpkin Eater twice. It counts them once. So use that number, divide your census days by that number, and again, you have it. Let me go over how you enter that formula again. So if you just hit equals, click the thing you want to divide by, hit the divide symbol on your keyboard, and you can come over here and click on this cell if you want and just hit enter. It'll work the same way. If you know the cell column and row number, you can just type it in there. So, okay, so that's the first way that you can calculate average length of stay within a period for any kid that was placed in that period. Now, look at some of these values on here. Obviously, you can sort by anything you want here and recalculate different things based on how you're sorting. So let's go ahead and get out of that. So that's the first way. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you does the same thing. It's going to give you your average length to stay within that period, but you can actually break it down by level of care. Okay, so we're going to go to the administrative menu, and we'll send out the notes, my notes from here, because it has all the navigational links. You don't have to remember administrative menu, level of care submenu, and level of care compare days to get to this. We'll email all the attendees my notes so you can see the menu structures. Okay, so let's go here. And again, this will do the same thing I just showed you, but it does something furthermore, and that it will break it down by level of care. So I want to do just 2018. And so I'm going to put 2018. I'm going to leave those defaults the same. Click my box. Hit search. Now this report does a whole lot of other stuff, and I'm going to be going back to this when we talk about data error checking. But for now, let's just go down here to the bottom. Don't get distracted by everything at the top here. So here you have your census days by level care, okay? And you can throw this right into the spreadsheet. The problem is with this is you don't have client counts, okay? But if you click this button here, the detail screen CSV file, and again, this is in my notes, so when you get a copy of those notes, you'll know which button to click on this screen. So you click that button, it's going to open this up in a spreadsheet. Now, the thing about this report, all right, it shows a lot more than just level care. It has billing information, it has home payment information, it has a lot of information on here. So one of the first things you're going to want to do with this report is to highlight the whole thing. Make sure you click in this top left corner, hit data. Let's go to sort. We're going to sort this. Make sure this says my data has headers. We're going to sort this by LOC name, okay? So what that will do, it'll get you all the level care information at the top, all right? And then what you can do, if that's all you're going to do with this spreadsheet, you can just come down here and highlight all this and delete it, okay? Because you don't need it if you're just worried about level care. Now, I'm going to hide a couple columns so you can actually see the whole spreadsheet. Now I'm going to go ahead and hide this too. Okay, so now you have every kid by level care, sorted by level care, okay? And then you have these census days. So now if you click this corner, all right, if you come up here to subtotal, right, and what you want to do, you want to say at each change in LOC name, all right, I want to average the census days. All right, so you hit OK. Now if you come over here and click this number 2, you can further hide these things, and you can have a nice little display of your level or average length of stay based on level of care. Okay? Pretty straightforward and easy. These are your level of care names, and here's your average length of stay. Okay. The next one, again, pretty much does the same thing as this. And again, you're going to use, if you're trying to run these reports, you're going to use the ones that are important to you, the ones that you like. I just want to make sure I cover the most common ones being used. So the next one I want to show you is client and LOC. So I'm going to come in here, again, I'm going to do 1 year. Click the button, hit search, and we have that. All right, now check this one out. Right down here at the bottom, we summarize all that data above. So if you just pop this open, again, I'm opening it in Excel. This one's real simple. It already has everything formatted for you. So you just come here, you go equals average this. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't want to do average. We want to do equals this divided by that. Okay. And there's your average for the level care 0. And then what you can do, you can just drag this down. Okay. So here you have your average length to stay by level care. And you can further do, if you just want to do, so you can look at everything, you can say equals this divided by the 72 clients. And here's your average length to stay for everybody. So you can actually see which type of level cares stay longer than your median for all kids and which ones stay shorter. So real nice, quick and easy. Having that table right down, this table at the bottom makes that one really, really quick. You can also pull all this information into a spreadsheet here, and if you want to do it by different ways based off the information on here, you can do that. If you want to know, like, so we have the foster parents' names here. If you want to sort it by foster parent name, and then you do your subtotals at each change in name, and you average the census column, then you can actually see what your average length of stay is by parent. So, okay, so that's a few ways you can do average length of stay on Child Tracks. As I was preparing for this, I had many other ideas coming into my head. We're going to have some more stuff for average length of stay. If you have some ideas, don't hesitate to shoot them our way. Okay, the next topic I want to go over is some productivity reports. So we're going to start on the report date range start page. There's different ways to get to this. First one we're going to go over is our first link is right here, report date range start page. Now, again, we'll do a year. So let me get this set up. And we're going to look at things in a couple of these sections. First one we're going to look at is this client care efficiency. So again, I'm leaving this stuff defaulted. You can do this by payer, state, branch, or program. So let's go ahead and hit go. Let's look at this result. So now it's going to go out and it's going to find every client care item that was completed during your search period. Now and there is a CSV button at the bottom. You can put this right into Excel. But let's look at this overdue column, okay? So if you see something red, it means that it was completed on Child Tracks after the due date. If you see a minus number, it means it was completed on Child Tracks before the due date. If it's a 0, it means it was completed on Child Tracks the same day it was due. Right? So you can actually pull this into Excel. You can sort by the different types. You can sort by the payers. You can sort by the actual staff member. And you can get averages off of that. You know, you average being late on this stuff 12 days every time. Or, you know, your average is 12 days later, whatever. So this report, again, right down here, pull it into Excel, and you can sort. You can average, you can count, you can, you know, if you want to know how many times I did something, you know, what my total was. It was a total of a minus 180 days. That tells you over all the stuff I did, my overall total on that was late 180 days. So it can be used in many different ways, especially in supervision and other things. A lot of our partners take this information to their board of directors just to show them how timely they're doing things. So that's client care efficiency. Pending task efficiency works the same way, okay? So again, we know what the due date was. We know what day it was said it was completed. So now, if you look at this, my people, hey, we do things before the kids even place. We do it two and a half or 1.5 years before the kids even place because we know we can see in the future. Just not really. But so anyhow, that's the pending tasks. Then I'm checking my notes real fast. Next thing I want to show you is this report right here. If you ever wonder how much direct service time your staff's producing, this report right here is really good. Now, when I say direct service, I'm talking about contacts, all right? Visitation, home visits, face-to-face visits, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my date range. I'm going to hit go. And then what you're going to see is a report, and it opened on my other screen. Let me pull it over. So this is going to be every one of your staff members will be listed on here, all right? And it's going to break down their direct service time with the clients or foster parents, or if it's residential with clients or services, direct time with clients. So you can look, for me, for that year, I did 63.3 hours worth of face-to-face time. Now, if you bill hourly, then you can also, we can set up Child Tracks to track that hourly billing for you. So this is billable time. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is billable time. This is non-billable time. And then you have your total time. So, okay, this can be used in many different ways as far as your supervision and maybe even performance appraisals, yearly performance appraisals. So, let's see what's next. Now, right in this same section, the next two things we're going to look at are these. If you guys are not using notifications within Child Tracks yet, you may want to start using them. It's a really nice tool. We built this whole notification thing based off of feedback. This is where you can see your notifications. Man, this first report I'm going to show you is going to show you the notifications by user that have been completed. That means somebody put in a notification into one of your users, and Paul for this first example, it was a notification of optical exam for Tom Cruiser. It just says, "Hey, Paul, it was from service and support to Paul Hanrahan. It was initiated on 11/9. I said, hey, whatever that notification was about, I completed the notification process on 11/9. So, again, these are completed notifications. Now, in that same section, if you want to use the notification stuff on Child Tracks, well, then you need to be able to know who ain't using it. This next report, you can see all the notifications sent to your different staff. This was from Mark to Mark. He sent on 11/21 on 2018, and he's yet to complete it. So you can quickly see the ones where people are ignoring their notifications also. Okay, and those notifications are tracked. So like this notification for notification of immunization for Jared Anderson, if you go to that client care item and you click notification, there's a history button. And if you click that history button, you'll see all the notifications that was sent back and forth for that. So, okay. And the next one I want to do is down here in the bottom section. So if you're getting ready to have your staff meeting or you're doing a supervision, you can come down here to this bottom section. You can click this client care overdue, and this is going to show you this all the client care items that are overdue today. All right, it means they haven't been completed. The due date's come and gone, and so here you have it. So this is the username. These Beth don't have any. Brenda has a bunch. Chris has a bunch. The client name and what those things are and what the due date was. So if you're doing a supervision or going to a staff meeting, it's be a nice little report to take in there because you can have people explain why some of this stuff ain't done. So. Okay, now we're going to come over here to the client menu. Now, before I show you the next one, you know, a lot of stuff in Child Tracks is time-sensitive stuff. And that's one of the things we built it to do is help manage those time-sensitive stuff. So this next report, let me go ahead and run it. Again, I'm going to run it for a year, for 2018. Okay, what this report shows you, and we'll just look. So this is me, Paul Henry as a user. Here's the client, Rhode Island. They had a discharge entered in the Child Tracks. The discharge was effective 8/1/2017. It wasn't entered till February 8th of 2018. It was entered 191 days late. Let's find a placement here. So this placement one, it was entered 34 days late. Well, here's the problem with that. What Child Tracks helps you track that's time sensitive is in multiple different parts of Child Tracks. If you're entering your placements, your movements, your respites, your discharges late and it's time sensitive, then Child Tracks, you're removing the effectiveness of Child Tracks. Some of our most efficient agencies, if you look at this report, you don't see much more than 2 or 3 here. And if you look at the actual effective date of the placement, it's typically a Saturday or Sunday when you see numbers over here. And it all comes down to timely data entry. And that's what this report helps you manage in regards to placement, movements, discharges, and respites. So this report is printable. You can actually take it into the staff meetings and discuss it, or take it over to your intake person and discuss it. So. Okay, now the next thing I want to show you is on the supervisor homepage. Over there. We got to wait a second for that to come up. Okay, on there, on your pullover menu, you have 2 things here. These 2 things run the same way, except this one is sorted by contact type. So I'm just going to use the first one. And again, I'm going to run this for a year, 2018. I'm going to hit show details, and again, you can pull it into Excel, and let me do show by branch, Dayton. So this system's going out and is finding all the kids that were placed during that time frame. okay? And what it's showing you is the contacts that was entered for that kid during that time frame. So if you look, Jared Anderson didn't have the first contact. Leroy Browner didn't have any. Jared Bruner didn't have any. But Tom Cruiser had these contacts entered during that. Here's the visitation date here. During that period, here's the types, okay? So let me go ahead and just kind of scroll slowly down to the bottom. And here's the CSV file. All right, so let's open this up. I'm not going to do much on the CSV. I am going to just show you a couple of things real quick that you can do. So once you get that CSV file opened up, let's resize it so we can see everything. So we have the payer, we have the user, we have the client name, we have the type, we have the visit date. If you're doing start and stop times, you have start and stop times. Highly recommend you track start and stop times on contacts. If you're actually billing, it has what that contact was billed at. So now, here's what I want you to think about. Again, I'm not going to waste too much time in this because I got to keep moving fairly fast. You can sort by any of these things or a combination of these things. So if you want to sort by client, you can actually click up here in the top left, go to data, do sort, right? You can say my first thing I want to sort by is client name. I'm going to add another level, and then I'm going to do it by, what is that field? Type. Right, hit OK, and then I just sorted this by the client and then by the type. So you can actually do subtotals based off the type. So not only can you see how much was Jared Anderson, how much did he have then, but you can also see what he had by type. So, okay. And you can do it multiple different ways. But again, once you get it in Excel, this report allows you to get it in Excel real quick. So now a kid could be listed multiple times on here too, based off of what's going on with agency billing. Jared Anderson, he's here, but he's also on down the page because something happened with his agency billing. So, okay, and again, the only difference between that one and this one is this one sorts it by type, this one sorts it by visit date. So, okay, last thing I want to show you on the case for productivity tools. Hopefully you guys know this. I typically, when I bring an agency up, I show this because this is very handy. So I'm going to go back to November of 2018. If you want to see a snapshot of one of your case managers' caseload for a particular month, just come in here. So I picked my period, pick my branch, pick my case where, and I hit search. So what this is going to show you, this is going to show you every kid that I was responsible for in November. So here's David. His placement date was here. If he was discharged in that month, you'd see a discharge date. When was the last time his treatment plan was completed? When was the last time the treatment team meeting happened, if you are tracking treatment team meetings? And then it breaks down the month into periods, and it'll show you any contacts that were entered and any collateral contacts that was entered. Now, these are all links. If you click on David, it's going to go to David's history page. You can actually click on this and it will open that contact for you, and you can actually review that contact right from here. So this is a great tool if you're doing supervision, one-on-one supervision with a case manager. Remember this tool, all right? Very, very handy. So, okay, so that's pretty much it that I wanted to cover on productivity tools. Now, it's great having a database. It's great tracking all that information, but sometimes you need to just quickly be able to dump that information out. So the first thing we're going to look at is for dumping data out is called tools under the administrative menu. And then we have these export functions. So let's go look at clients real quick. And I do have to pick up the pace a little bit. So let me go ahead and put in a year. All right, so you're going to specify how you want to search for the clients that were in the system. Okay, when you get all that done, if you want to do it by ethnicity, click that. You can pick if you don't want to do it by ethnicity or race, so on and so forth. Once you get your filters set up, and you can see all the different ways that you can filter these, now you can click on Show Values to Return. So on this particular thing, I just want to know the first name, last name. I want to know their county of birth, and I want to know their directions to the biological home, and I also want to know what color hair they have. Okay. So then you click this button, export to CSV. As soon as it's done, it's going to give you the CSV button. Again, it's a spreadsheet, so you're taking data right out of Child Tracks and dumping it right into the spreadsheet. So here's that information. Let me blow it up. Then you quickly resize it by doing that. Now you have all the kids that met your search criteria. You have their hair color, their county of birth, and directions to biological home. Now, if there's something you're trying to track on kids, on clients that's not part of Child Tracks, we can add additional fields to the demographics page of a client. For instance, most of these fields down here are not standard fields. These are things we added to our research system here as additional fields. So we can add more fields at a demographic level for a client that you can actually return here. So, okay, so that's the export clients. A lot of these work the same way. You know, we just did a release on other people involved with the home. So if you want to get a list of all those other people, just come in here, set up your filter, hit search. It'll show you the CSV button. Open that up and you have a spreadsheet of all those people that are associated with homes that are not a foster child or a foster parent. So there's that information. Again, on people, we can add other fields. So if we add additional fields to that people demographic page, you would see those fields over here at the end. So, okay, the next one I'm going to show you is client care. Now I'm going to run this a couple of different ways. All right, now this one, you can run it the way it sits, but now I'll go ahead and just put in a date range, run it, and show you what you get, and then I want to use some additional filters to show you the difference. Okay, if you run it that way, you're going to get everything regardless of how the case management is set up. All right, now let me resize this so you can see everything that's here. So what you're going to see on your spreadsheet, you're going to see what was the client care item, who was the client, what was the due date, what was the worker due date. So these would be different if you had it set up with the supervisory review. Initial date is really something the system uses. The worker completed date, this is when the worker said, when they entered it into Child Tracks, this is the date they said that they did the thing. So this worker on 6/12 said, hey, on May 20th, I completed the 1294A. If there was a supervisory review, you would know that because these are different. And this is the day the supervisor signed off. And this was the user that created this particular item. So that's if you just put in a date range. Now, if you pick one particular case management setup, then run it, then it's going to look very similar to what you just seen. Actually, we can skip opening that because it's going to look identical when it's going to have the client care items that are only specific to this case management setup. But then if you come in here and you pick a particular item, all right, so I'm going to run this just for medical exams. Let me hit export to CSV, open up that CSV file. I'll tell you how this can be used in just a second. Let me get this spreadsheet up. So now here we have all the medical exams that was done during that date range for that particular case management setup. Now the difference when you pick a particular item, we show you all the fields that are on that screen, okay? Now if you want to do some quality control checks occasionally, you can use this. And what you can do, quick quality control checks, this picture this having results all the way down to here, right? You want to see how many times somebody didn't fill in this field. It's easy to do in Excel. It's easy to find those blanks. Like this blank sticks out like a sore thumb, right? So it's a quick, easy way for you to do some quality control checks. If you wanted to quality control narratives, all right, let's say this was a narrative field. Well, you can actually, it'll pull those narratives into this field and you can just spot check narratives to make sure that your staff are talking about the right things. So it's a great tool. We actually had a agency in Texas that works strictly with private placements from all over the world that talked me into building that export tool for client care, for contacts and progress notes. And they wanted to use it strictly to do spot checking of quality control. So that's the client care one. Now let's go on and move to contacts. All right, and again, it's very similar. If you pick a particular case management setup, hit export to CSV. Now you're not going to get all the narrative fields, and you're only going to get to standard fields if you don't pick a type. All right. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. If you pick the agency, you'll get all the fields that are there. So here's all those contacts that match your search criteria. Okay. Now, if you want to see like all the narrative fields, everything that your agency had us add to the screen, then you come in here and run this by type. So if I come down here to Home Visit Medicaid Services, and now I hit Export, open up that spreadsheet, now all those narrative fields are going to be part of that spreadsheet too. Now, my folks, we don't take time to enter narratives, so these are probably mostly blank. But again, if you just like this client progress, if you're actually doing spot checks, you can easily spot check and know that, hey, Paul didn't enter client progress on this one he entered here. I'd have to scroll left to see what date it was. So you can actually quickly spot check to make sure there's something there, and then you can actually randomly check, are the narratives relevant. So, okay, so that was the contacts. Now, progress notes works the same way as contacts. Incident works the same way as contacts, so we can skip those. Then I'm going to show you one more. I mean, they're identical in the way they work. I want to show you the home requirements because the rest of these work just like the home requirements do too. So we're kind of getting towards the end of this, so I can pick up the pace a little bit. So if I just put in a date range, again, I'm going to get everything for every branch you have, and all it's going to have is the standard fields, okay? So these are the standard fields that ChildTrax provide in regards to home requirements, okay? Now, if I pick a branch, I pick one particular requirement, frequent visitor one, there we go. And I open that spreadsheet. Now I'm going to get everything that was entered on those screens when that frequent visitor home requirement was entered. So now you'll see you get a whole lot more information. Again, great way to make sure your staff are actually filling things out. And if you want to check for quality, spot check some of the narratives. So, okay, so that's the export tools. Again, these other three here work the same way as that one. Okay, now the last thing I want to cover, and I got about 7 minutes. I don't know if I can do it in 7 minutes. I'm going to try, is data error checking. So the first thing I want to show you is under the administrative menu, the supervisor submenu, and it's called residential placement system check. So this is going to go out. It's going to look for these conditions on your clients. Okay. Now, if you have something show up like I did here, so this box here is looking for clients that are not assigned a caseworker. If you click on Diana's name, come in here and you assign a caseworker. Now let me see what her placement date was. 10/31/2018. So we'll give this one to Zephyr. Now if I close this, if I come back here and refresh this page, you'll see that that's no longer listed there. So if information is here, there are links to go fix this, okay? So like this one says 2 clients in same location. So these 2 kids, according to ChildTrax, are sleeping in bed 5. Whichever one's not in bed 5, click on their name, go fix the location. Same with this. Client not assigned to school location. Click on their name and go tell the system where they're going to school, all right? So very easy tool to use to make sure that you have good data. Okay, the next one is home rate error check. So here we're looking at home rates. This is specific to foster care only. Home rates where payment rate doesn't match placement rate. So we have a placement table that says you're paying a parent $95 a day, and we have a foster home payment record that says you're only paying them $90 a day. So to fix that, just click on the name, come in here, and fix the one that's wrong. All right, we're going to say that the daily rate in the placement table is wrong. Save that. All right, and real quick, this record has to do with the placement. This one has to do with the actual payment to the home. Okay, so I fixed that. If I refresh this page, now nobody listed on there. Guys, these tools, if you assign somebody to run these tools at a minimum monthly, your data is going to be pretty daggone clean. So now, next one we're going to come in here, we're going to look at System Administrator, and we're going to look at Duplicate Record Check. All right, now this tool checks for multiple things. It checks for duplicate respite. Tom Clancy has a duplicate respite. If you have somebody here, log a ticket. You want to get us involved the first few times so that we can train you on how to make sure the payment stuff is taken care of too. Now, we've done a lot of work on Child Tracks to stop a lot of this stuff from ever happening in the first place. I can't, through the user application anymore, duplicate a home payment start date. All right, so I can't even have one on here to show you. Duplicate parents with the same status in the home. If I click on that name, it's going to take me to that home. Click on that. So you can look, John Doe is primary parent, Jane Doe is primary parent. So figure out which one's the secondary, expand it out, click on details, change primary to secondary, save it, and you just fixed that error. Okay. So now if we reran this, refreshed it, that won't be on there anymore. So all these things are links to the information to fix the data. If you look at youth with duplicate agency billing ID, youth with duplicate SACWIS, youth with duplicate Medicaid, and Social Security numbers. So I'm going to click, I put Jared Anderson in most of these. So I'm going to go to Jared Anderson. I'm just going to fix these things real quick. Save it. Now if I refresh this page, those are going to be blank. Right? So it's a real easy page to go find those problems that people typically will mess up and fix them. Okay. The last one, youth with duplicate first name and last name and date of birth. There's two of them, Janie Doe. If that, you want to go to find a client, figure out which one you want to keep, and get rid of the other one. You'll have a delete button there if there's no referrals. Now, if there was a referral on the one you want to get rid of, it's not going to give you a delete button. It's easy enough. Go delete the referral, then come back to the kid and you can delete the kid. Now, if that referral is tied to a placement, do not delete it. You, at that point, log a ticket. Okay. So, okay. The next one is under System Administrator. It's Level Care Error Check. So now this one, same thing. It's looking at different scenarios. You know, level care is so important. So many 40 cost reports require your census days nowadays based off of level care. So we build a lot of error checking into level care. So I'm going to explain these sections to you. We'll go fix David. David's in each one of these. We'll fix them. I'll refresh the page. You can see how it's taken care of. This section is looking for two level cares that have the same start date. This one has two level cares with the same end date. And this one has the same level care with some same dates and the same agency. So let's click on David's name. It'll take us out of here. We'll go to the payment screen real fast. Here's the level of care section. You can see these are duplicated. So let's just delete one of them. And then change this end date to what it should be. It should be 10/1/2018. Because his level of care, he went from a 0 to 1B on October. So change that. You just fixed David. So now if we come back here to this level of care error check and refresh that, it should be blank. And it is. Okay. And the month data checks. These are very important. Now, for you administrative types, you know, when you're getting ready to pay your homes or invoice your payers for kids in your care, whether it be foster care or residential, you really need to know some things, right? For foster care, here's one a real nice tool. So this first data verification under the end of month stuff. So these kids right here, you're invoicing $0, you're paying the home 0. This kid, you're invoicing 50, you're paying the home 50, so on and so forth. Here's the difference between those two columns. So before you pay your parents, before you invoice for the kids, check this. Make sure if somebody had a typo, they meant to type 34 and they typed 64 for a home payment, well, then more than likely this margin is going to be close to 0. You can fix that data entry problem before you run your end of month reports. So very nice little tool. Now this one, I absolutely love this. It's one of my favorite data checking tools on Child Tracks. The problem with this one right now, it only works for foster care and it only works for per diem rates. We are going to be fixing that. It's going to work across the board in all programs and also with monthly rates. So let me just show you how it works. I always like to do all in branch, show rates. So it's going to look at every kid in care for your period. All right. It's going to break it down, how you're invoicing, how you're paying parents. So for this structure, $44 invoice, 33 of it goes to the parent. There's 4 kids. All right. If you click on the 44, you're going to see who those 4 kids are. So what this allows you to do, most of us today, we only have 5 or 6 different rate structures. Well, if somebody had a typo, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb here, because if you're running this report, you know what those rates should be, and you'll quickly see where the problem is. And again, right now, this is just foster care, and it's just per diems. But we have a ticket on our development list. I can't tell you when we're going to be able to get to it, but we're going to make it work with monthly rates. We're also going to make it work with residential. Obviously, on residential, you won't have a home rate. You won't have this column. You won't have the margin column or the rate column, but the rest of this stuff will be there for you. So again, you know, if your residential center only has 5 different rates, you should only see 5 different rates. If somebody made a typo, you're going to see 6. And same with services. So very nice report. Again, it's one of my favorite tools to use to verify that the rates are in there correctly. Next one is this billing comparison. Now this one is a really, really powerful tool. It works in all programs. It doesn't work with monthly rates yet, but it will. So let's run this again. You can throw this into CSV by clicking that. I'm not going to do that. I just want to show you how the report works. So this is going to go out and find every kid during this period that either had a placement record, a home payment record, an agency billing record, or level care. And it compares these 4 columns. Okay. So the first kid is Jared Anderson. Right, his placement record said he's been here 365 days that year. His home payments, here's the home. It was 7 days at $34, 3 days to this home at $20, 294 days to the Bob and Carol Baker for $34, and then 61 days to the Jan Davis home. I'm guessing this was a respite, so we break that record, right? We're not going to overcount 3 days. So, and then the same way with invoicing for Jared during that period. Here's the different invoicing stuff. Right now, let's scroll down. So if you're doing data error checking with this report, just scroll. You don't want to see red. If you see red, you have a problem. Right now, the reason David Baker here is red, because it says he was in care 165 days. Well, we do have a home payment record for 165 days, but the rate is 0. So we count that as 0. We don't count the 165 if it's 0 rate. Same way with the invoice. The invoice is 0 rate, 165 days, it shows 0. Level care says 165. So what we compare on this is this 165. All right, if the 165 isn't in every one of the total census columns, then we highlight it red. You know you have a problem. Right, and as you get really, really familiar with Child Tracks, you can just click on David's name, go fix this within a minute, and rerun that report, and they won't be red anymore. Now, what's really nice, so it's going to find every kid that has one of those records during that period, but then down at the bottom, there's some really nice totals. Okay, so here's your totals. Census days by level care, all your payments, and you have a total for, or this is invoicing. So you invoice $1 million. You paid foster parents $617,000. You had 13,737 days of care in the placement record. Okay, so that's that one. 2 more, and then I am done. No, 1 more. So I want to go to the accounting homepage. And on here, we have this level of care compare days. It is also right there. Okay. We actually looked at this already, but I just want to run it one more time. Repetition, I always feel is a good thing. If I click and fill. Search again, you can put it in a CSV file. This is very similar to the report I just showed you a few minutes ago. It does work a little bit differently. We don't you don't see level of care over here, but the level of care is here. So now if Jared had 2 different level of cares through this period, he would have another blue bar down here somewhere showing his second. It typically would be right underneath this one. So it looks at the stuff just a little bit differently, not much, but it's a good one to know. And then the last one I do want to show you is this level of care, agency billing comparison. This is like a quick smoke test without getting into a lot of details. And this is going to look strictly at your agency billing records and your level of care. So I'm going to set it up for Ohio, and you can do it per payer. Calendar year 2018, I'm going to say show all. And it's going to go out and it's going to look at level of care. It's going to determine the number of census days in that period. And it's going to look at your agency billing days, show you the number of billing days in that period. So you can see this Grant Belfort, he doesn't have any billing records. He does have level of care records. Grant, he don't even have a placement in there. So, but let's go look at Brutus Buckeye fan. So it's saying there's 4 days difference between LOC and agency billing days. So if we come in here and look, so the LOC's up here. It's for the whole year. Come down here, the agency billing records. Oh, I already see the problem. This is in the same period as this one. That's a 4-day invoice, but it's within that period. So that is a problem. Why did we invoice it an additional 4 days for that date range? So yeah, you could easily fix that, rerun that, and that wouldn't be read anymore. Okay, now I'm going to unmute everybody and take questions. So, okay, everybody's unmuted. Any questions? Hey, before everybody gets off here, though, I do want to let you know I recorded this, and we will send out a link to the recording when we get it loaded up to our YouTube channel. So you'll have a link that you can go back and review it. And I'll have Norma send you my notes so that you can reference these menu structures and go find the stuff I showed you. So.
Okay.
No questions?
None for me. This is Marilyn.
Okay, Marilyn. Hey, I'm glad you made it this time.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. If we run into any problems, we'll refer back to the demo.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll get it up on YouTube probably in the next 1 or 2 days, Monday or Tuesday next week. And then we'll get the link out to you directly to that webinar. And again, Norma, I'll have Norma send out the notes. So.
Okay, that'll be good.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, if there's no questions. Hey, listen, just a quick heads up. The one we're doing in February, my wife uses Child Tracks all the time. I mean, every day. And she uses it. She's more of a clerk type person. And she's actually going to do a 15-minute presentation on how she uses Child Tracks. So, and then I think in March, we actually have an executive director of one of our agencies going to do a 30-minute presentation on on these webinars on how he uses it for strategic needs in foster care. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up, if any of you all have a particular thing that you want to share with our other customer base, just shoot me an email. I am more than happy to give up time on these webinars to you. So, and I encourage you, if you want to share, please do. So, okay.
And Paul, before you go, I do have a question. This is Marilyn. I don't know if you all are working on it or not. And it has to do with the foster parent training. the training report that you pull after all the training has been entered. I do have parents that have been here for like years, but when I put all the training information in for current, it still shows that there's training from like last year and year before, and I want the current year all on one page opposed to seeing trainings from 2017, 2016, and so forth. I just want to do just the current. And I'm not able to copy and paste like I was before. I could copy and paste the current training and then put it on to just open up a new page, and then I can put the current training on that one page and then print it out. So I'm not able to do that now.
Yeah. Hey, Marilyn, you need to just submit a ticket for that. And Zephyr or Brad or Eric will work through that with you.
Okay.
You should be able to. I mean, our system, the training stuff, I mean, all the feedback I get, it works great. I mean, it revolves around training, what we call training periods now, which didn't before. But yeah, it should not be an issue. I mean, so.
Okay. Okay, that'll be good.
Okay.
I'll get with Zephyr on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, well, I'll get off here and stop the recording, and thank you all so much. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.